But I've never seen this problem type. It's probably out there, but I've seen a lot of summation stuff that's related to this, but never any product stuff. So we'll see what you think. Now, this reads the product. It's 220 factors, and you're taking the GCD, the greatest common divisor, of the index with the constant 187 every time. So one element that's guaranteed to be in the product, okay, would be this. See, this is I. Whenever I rolls around to 187, you get this. But almost trivially, I guess, the GCD of a number with itself is just itself, right? Whereas the GCD of n comma n is the number, right? So we know that 187 is going to be present right here. Now, but there's still 219 other values to worry about. Now, you get the impression, once you notice that 187 is semi-prime. It's almost a prime number. That's literally what they call it. It's semi-prime because it's composed of the product of two primes, distinct primes, namely 11 and 17. Okay? So it's very clear, this statement right here, that the greatest common divisor of an integer in 187 is equal to 1 if and only if I is not a multiple of either of these two factors, 11 and 17. So it behooves us to count these multiples in some way. Now, 22 is pretty easy. The floor function is used frequently to count multiples. And let me just give an example for it. 220 divided by 11. Yeah, and you guys familiar with the floor function know that the floor of any integer is just the integer itself. Okay, so this is equal to 20. All right, now we'll get our money's worth from the floor function on this next problem. 220 over 17, the floor of that quotient gives you the number of multiples of 17 that are less than or equal to 120. And that 10 times 17 is 170, 34, so this would be 12. And that's the value of the floor function, folks. The floor function returns the number of, in other words, if you do the floor of m over n, it returns the number of multiples of n that are less than m. Okay? So armed with that, we can move on because remember, these are exactly the times that the GCD would be 1. Okay? So here we go. Now, y'all, again, this 187 is the 187 that you saw earlier. I mean, it's because it does show up in the product, right? And now the rest of this, of course, there's going to be 1 raised to a lot. And so I'll put that in there for emphasis. Even though 1 raised to anything is 1, it's a good idea to kind of document what you're doing, okay? So you see, 187 is the only factor in here that's a multiple of both 11 and 17. Everything else, they're distinct, right? This is the only one, less than 220, that's a multiple of both 11 and 17. So I'm writing that down separately just to be explicit here. Now, notice what happens here, though. You're going to get 187. $187, and then this will be 11 raised to the 19th. Okay, and this will be 17. That's a 19, folks, right there. And the next one will be 17 raised to the 11th. Now, what happened to the 20 and the 12 where you see that you're using up the 11 and the 17 right here? So this is 19, this is 11. 19 and 11 is 30. And then this one factor makes 31 factors that we've worked with that are not equal to 1. And so when you subtract 31 from 220, you actually get 189. So you would have 1. Now, many problem composers might consider not writing this down. I think it's important to write it down. I really do. I think it's important to write that down. Just so it kind of documents what really was going on. 189 times this thing just kind of whizzed out on us. Okay, there's only anything interesting going on 31 times. All right. So anyway, what does this end up being? 11 to the 20th. Sorry, y'all, this is a goddamn thing. 11 to the 20th, and then 17 raised to the 12th power. Okay, y'all. Again, y'all, that's 11 to the 20th power. Let me erase that just for the sake of being professional. Sometimes this thing just goes crazy on me. I don't know what is happening. Okay, so 17, this is 11 to the 20th. There we go. A little nicer. See, that was 11 to the 19th. Okay, but that's our final answer because obviously 1 to anything is just the 1. So we get 11 to the 20th and 17 raised to the 12th power.